Hey everyone, today I want to talk about time management for distributed teams. A lot of agencies, a lot of online businesses work with a lot of freelancers, VAs, people from around the world, and that's fine. That's how the new world is today. That's the new normal, right? Your business is not located in one office, it's across the world. Everybody's working from home, or maybe some people are working in an office and you have another office in another country. So it's all about distributed teams. Now, what I see, what I hear is that time management is still a big issue for not only the owners, but also for the team itself, because they work in different time zones. You work in a different time zone and you have your schedule on a day, they have their schedule on a day. So, how do you make that efficient? How can you collaborate efficiently with your distributed team? How can you manage your time as good as you can? And that's the topic for today. Let's just talk about a distributed team. So, if you have a team that is about like maybe from 5 people to 10 people, maybe more. You're an agency, a web development agency, marketing agency, or you are an online business, SaaS business, any type of business with specific team members, with the different departments. Maybe you have a development team, maybe you have some support team, maybe you have some product management team. You know, there's a lot of different members within your team. And again, they can be from different countries. And that's the beauty of it, of course, that you can have team members from across the world. You are not limited to the current or to the local market to find your team members, which is good. But again, it brings some problems. Now, the solution to really getting more efficient into working together, especially when it comes to time management, is to using hours of overlap. Mapping them out is hugely beneficial for you, for your team, to create clarity on how you want to work together. Why is it important? Look, your team needs to collaborate with each other, right? And if they don't have enough sufficient hours, you need to reorganize the team. So just imagine you have somebody from the Philippines, you have somebody from India, you have somebody from America. It doesn't make sense that the person in America is working all the time alone and is not even able to work at the same time than your other team members. Because they need to collaborate, you need to communicate with each other. And sure, you have tools where you can have asynchronous communication, chat, or even through Loom videos, which is good as well. But at a certain stage, if you encounter a problem, an issue that you want to resolve with your team, you'll need to find a way to collaborate in real time. So that is why hours of overlap is important. If they do not have that, try to reorganize your team and your hours. Maybe find ways to create specific teams that can work together on a specific topic. In the agile principles, you could create a scrum team that works on one project. And that scrum team is responsible for that part, and they can collaborate with each other, maybe in the same time zone, or they have sufficient hours overlap that they can work together. Again, like what we said here, have at least 4 hours a day to collaborate. Less than 4 hours, okay, still not the worst, but optimally 4 hours would be good. Because if they still work on their own, if they still work as individuals, then you don't really have a team. You really have separate entities, and it's going to be super inefficient to work together. So that's what we try to solve with hours of overlap. First exercise, first step is that every team member maps out his or her time for a whole week. So this is the example from one of our team members, where you can see day by day when he or she is working, what are the tasks, when do they have breaks, and so on. Also, on the left side, you can see what time they are working, like what is the local time compared to the time from other team members. This is important as well. If you have a team member that is working more later at night, then you need to know, like, okay, if I'm disturbing this person and I think it's okay because it's 3 p.m. at my time, well, for that person, maybe it's already 10 or 11 p.m. So you have to take that into account as well. But you will only notice if your team, every team member maps out the time per week. And this is an exercise you need to do on a regular basis because things change, tasks change, your life changes. Maybe you move to another city, another country. So make sure that you update this regularly and that you have this communicated to every team member. Individually, this is already a good exercise for you to do as a team member for your own time management. But for a team itself to be able to collaborate, this needs to be done as well. And if you've done this, then the exercise is to put it together, to put your team together in an overview. And this is an overview that I got from Mark Kilby, which is great because this really shows you in one document, just one page, when is everybody working, if you can see the green bars there, but you can see, okay, this is where they are working. And then you can see at the top, percentage of team mutually available. So you can see, okay, between 11 and 1, 70% of the team is available to work together, which is great. So will also mean that you can schedule more meetings if needed with your team during that period because most of the people are available then, right? And there's another slot from 5 to 7 here, 70% again. So you could have maybe a meeting in the morning or a meeting at the evening to make sure that everybody has the possibility to join. This is a great tool to see, again, who is working when and how much time they have available. Where are they at, You can also have something like this. This is another example of a template I will be making available after the training. You can download this one then. And this is also a good one to see, to make it more visual, right? And here you can connect it to your process. Because if you have specific stages of a specific task, for example, and you have mapped out your process, and you need to make sure that a specific task is handled in a timely fashion so you can actually hit your deadlines. In a development world, for example, this is a development example where you start coding. Then you have, at the same time, you have that hour of overlap where you can really join the team, and then you do your stand-up, for example, or you do your design review, or you do your pair programming, because you have those hours of overlap. And by the time the shift in India is done, you can actually have something working. And then the guys in the UK can still work on that. So they don't have to wait on each other. If there are no hours of overlap, then at a certain stage, the guys in India will have done something, and the guys in UK maybe will be able to only pick it up the next day. So these kind of situations you have to avoid. You have to make sure that you can collaborate together as much as you can. The hours of overlap are crucial in this. The minimum amount is really something you have to strive for. Now, another principle that you can use is follow the sun. Following the sun means that you have your team across the world from one time zone till the other, and where you can design also your process and your working style towards the different time zones. If you have somebody like in the Philippines that is working there, and then you have somebody in Europe, and then you have somebody in the US, then it's a good idea to allow the people to work in their time zone and to be able to hand off the work to the next team. So following the sun, following the time zones. Now, creating hours of overlap between the team in Philippines and the team in Europe makes sense for 1 hour maybe or 2 hours, so they can hand off the work to the next team, and then that team can hand it off to the team in America. So you can really follow the sun without the reason because of this is that you avoid shifting too much the hours of specific people. If the person in the Philippines has his time zone and the person in America has his time zone, to be able to match it together, somebody needs to shift his time. Somebody needs to work maybe from 1 p.m. until 10 p.m. to accommodate those hours of overlap. Now, that's not an ideal situation. It needs to be avoided because think about it yourself. Do you like to work always at a time like that? If so, okay, good. But most of the people don't really enjoy that. Most of the people want to work during the day. So then it's a good idea to include follow the sun principles with hours of overlap. Some of the pros for following the sun is because you hand it off to each other, is that you have a continuous stream of work. So there's actually working around the clock, never stops. Again, also eliminating night shifts. So what I've talked before, instead of shifting people's working hours, you make sure that you have your minimum amount of hours of overlap, and then you can hand it off, right? But also, by doing this principle, you have your global visibility. And this is important for us, for example, once we create content and we post content and we start engaging with people or we want to follow up with people, then it makes sense that we can follow up across the day, like non-stop, because people in Australia, for example, we want to be able to reach out to them. So we need somebody that can work in that time zone. People in Europe, people in America. So if you want to be a global company, if you want to keep scaling and you want to service the world, then following the sun is the best principle that you can implement for your company. Together with hours of overlap. Again, cannot stress enough how important hours of overlap are. Some of the cons, of course, like the hand-off coordination can be really messy sometimes. So you have to really be you have to have a system in place, like a project manager system like ClickUp or Asana, whatever it is. So the handoffs are smooth using those hours of overlap, but you create a team meeting where they can talk to each other, what's happening, how the work needs to continue. Another con can be communication problem again, because if people are not in the same time zone, the time that you can really communicate with each other is limited. And there's also, of course, the language barrier. I mean, everybody can hopefully talk English with each other, but still you have cultural differences, you have language differences. So this will mean that you have to take that into account when you're building your team. Some people also don't um, take it good when you talk to them in a certain way. Maybe in America, it's easier to be blunt to each other, but it's not so much in another country. So also that is something you have to take into account when you're building your global distributed teams. So those are a little bit of the cons when you start with this, but the benefits really weigh much more on the cons, I would say. Having a distributed team globally, being able to work around the clock will give you the competitive advantage, essentially. Because while others might be sleeping, your competitor might be sleeping, your team is still going, your team is still creating value for your customers. And that's an important one. The next step would be to map out a value stream and to really see where we can implement these things and to cut out the waste of time. But that's for another training. I would want to end definitely with this one. If you can do one thing after this training is just to map out everybody in your team and to see when are they working so you can try to create those hours of overlap for collaboration. This is important. Do this, and this will increase the efficiency of your team, your global team, right? So I'll end off with this one. If you have questions or suggestions for another training, let me know. Down below, you will see also the link to the template, or reach out to us and we'll make sure that you will get it. Until next time, see you. Thank you for following. Bye-bye.